Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel. This video is in response to Brian's last video and Rachel's comments. I think Brian's videos are great in that he manages to summarize the misinformation and misunderstandings that leads to the continual dissemination of nonsense. In fact, it seems insane that in 2022 we need to explain to actual adults in charge of bringing up children why we can't see a new moon and why it would not leave a shadow on the Earth. Now, the best way to approach this lecture is to look at how the sky and sunlight works together and to go on from there. Now, even flat earthers know that beyond the thin blue area above the Earth is a vast black area. We can see this difference even from high altitude balloons. The blue area is about 20 to 30 kilometers thick, depending on where you are, and around 90% of the atmosphere remains in this space. Beyond that, in the vast black area, there are very few gas particles. There is not enough air to scatter the blue wavelengths so that you can see it. This is why it's black. Now let's get back to Earth and look at the sky at night. It's mostly black, interspersed, meaning dotted, with the stars, planets and satellites, and often the moon. But why is it black? Well, black is effectively the absence of light. I think that should be obvious, but this observation is important. You will see in just a minute. Now let's get back to the sky during the daytime. It's blue because, as I mentioned before, the white light traveling through air molecules gets diffracted and spreads in all directions. But the blue wavelengths are shorter and are scattered more than the other wavelengths, so this makes the sky look blue. Now you need to focus, especially if you are a flat earther. I'll give you a few seconds to gather your 3 active neurons together before I proceed. Are you ready? We now know the area ahead of the blue sky is black. So we can infer that if something is not creating or reflecting light, then it will be absent of light and appear black. Now look at half the moon as it appears in the first quarter phase. It looks blue because that part of the moon is in fact devoid of light and appears black. And it's just like the rest of the sky above the blue area, which you know is black. So the air we are looking through, with its scattered blue wavelengths, makes that part of the moon look blue. Look again at the other half of the moon that you can see. You can see it because the sunlight is reflecting off it. And no, Brian and Rachel, there is nothing or nobody who turns the moonlight off and on during the lunar phases. The moon reflects the sunlight. So again, because that part of the moon is reflecting light, it is not black, so you can see it. I'm sure by now, anyone blessed with more than 5 neurons would be saying, "Okay, Professor, I get it." But we are talking to people who actually think the Earth is flat, so I might as well continue. So you can't see the black half because it's washed by the blue sky, and you can see the other half because it's not black, because it's reflecting sunlight. So it's not washed by the blue sky. Hopefully that's not too hard for you. Now please, focus with all your might. What if no sunlight at all is reflecting off the moon? All of it will be black, won't it, Brian? So what do we see looking through the blue sky when something beyond it is black, Rachie? Yes, Rachie and Brian. It gets washed out by the blue sky and you can't see it. Is there another contributing reason why there is no shadow from a new moon? Of course there is. The moon does not orbit exactly on the ecliptic, except when we get a solar eclipse. Have a look at this diagram. In both instances, on new moon, the shadow misses the Earth. So why is a solar eclipse different? It's because unlike a new moon, the sun and the moon line up perfectly for some people on Earth and they experience a shadow. For new moons, it's not an exact lineup for anyone. So think. This explains perfectly why other people looking at the moon can't see the entire eclipse. That is why they see a partial eclipse. Now I know that most flat earthers would have switched off by now, but for those hanging on, there is a bonus. You see, this little lecture is instructive in many ways. Let's examine a few takeaways. Number 1, the side of the moon that is washed out by the sky does not mean the moon is translucent. Number 2, clearly the sun is reflecting off the moon, so it is a solid object. Number 3, the vast black area above the thin blue area is black because there are very few gas particles. Number 4, the deep blue area close to the ground at 14.7 psi is not rushing to fill the black area. If it did, it would also be blue. Frankly, I can think of a dozen more, but these 4 should give flat earthers some food for thought. Well, that's enough. Thanks very much for watching. Please press the like and subscribe buttons before you go. Cheers.